everybody. I'm Kate Conroy.
And I'm Vinny Civitello.
And this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the largest statewide business association in the country. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage.
Awesome. Just a housekeeping matter or two before we get this train rolling. This podcast is available just about anywhere you can get a podcast. That's iTunes, Google Play, Amazon's TuneIn. We even throw these things up on YouTube if you'd rather watch than listen. But no matter how you check the show out, give it some love, give it that like, give it that comment, give it that 5-star review on iTunes. It helps the algorithm find more awesome listeners just like you so we can continue doing the show. And with all that out of the way, our awesome guest today from Smiling Voice is Barbara Farragher. Barbara, say hi, let the audience hear your voice.
Hey, how are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So glad you could be here today.
It's good to be here.
So today's icebreaker is, what are you currently binging? And I am happy to go first. I haven't talked about this in a long time, but in addition to Superstore and that 90s show and Breaking Bad and a bunch of other stuff that I'm just consistently binging, and let's be honest, Ted Lasso here and there as well. I am rewatching RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, and I'm at the most recent season where it is All Stars, All Winners. And the thing that I love most about the show is how happy they all are to see each other. You know, like on most reality shows, the contestants are like backbiting and talking smack and like, meh. These guys are just so genuinely happy to be in the same room together, making art and putting on body glitter and helping each other with their hair and makeup and sewing. And one girl doesn't know how to sew, and so she's literally hot gluing gowns together. It is so fun and so funny. I really cannot get enough of RuPaul's Drag Race.
If you can't be genuinely happy while you're putting on body glitter, you got to rethink your life.
Agreed.
100%. Oh yeah.
Thank you. I mean, the whole reason for
maybe not
glitter,
the while putting it on. I don't know what's involved in putting on body glitter, but at least while you're wearing it out in the world, you got to be projecting happy. That's all I'm saying.
100%. I mean, I would be thrilled if I were in body glitter right now. It would just be like a better day.
Is body glitter, is it just like glitter? Like it, because I know once you put glitter on you, it never comes off. So is that just all there is? Is it like glued on in some way?
So I have to admit,
are we about to take this show into a very like PG-13R borderline?
For here? I don't know.
I don't think so. So I've never experimented with body glitter myself, but you're right. Whenever you work with glitter, it just inherently gets everywhere, and then you can't get it off your clothes or your fingers or your face or whatever, the bottom of your shoes. I think body glitter, there is a little bit of adhesive, and so you just brush it on and it just stays until you wash it off like makeup. But I'm willing to investigate this for you, Vin. I'm just gonna.
I want to know. I want to know. I genuinely want to know.
Do you think I could expense it if it comes up as a work-related thing? Do you think I can expense it?
Sure. I mean, I was just curious if they showed the application during the show or if they all just show up with the body glitter already on.
There are moments when you're watching them put on their makeup, and some of it does include glitter. And sometimes they glue like sequins to their lips and their eyes, and it's artistry. It is such beautiful artistry.
On your eyes?
Like on their eyelids, not their eyes.
That's got to be uncomfortable as anything. When your eyes are open, like anything that would be on your eyelid, but no, I don't like that at all.
It's not hot glue.
I'm sure it looks gorgeous, but you know.
It's not hot glue, but yeah, I don't know.
No. I just mean like having a sequin on your eye. Like just imagine something on your eyelid.
That would be hard.
Yeah.
That would be weird and hard. And yeah, some of them have elaborate eyelid makeup so that when they close their eyes, it's like another set of eyes looking at you.
I've seen that, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. I've always thought that was kind of creepy, just to be honest with you. Yeah.
It is kind of creepy. But anyway, I'm just saying the level of artistry is just ridiculous, and it just makes me so happy to watch artists who are really good at what they do go in and compete at a level.
Can you top body glitter?
I definitely cannot. But I will tell you, I don't know if I've been binging this. It's a movie, a documentary, but I've been watching it in segments. It's the Pamela Anderson documentary. It's fascinating. I mean, there are things that she shares, had no idea.
Yeah,
And
I'm just
what's
gonna
now
put out there,
speaking,
like, I didn't think it was possible for us to, learn anything more about Pamela Anderson
yeah,
after everything that's been quote shared.
That's
After
exactly what I
having,
thought when I saw it. I was like, do we really need this? But
yeah,
okay.
and you know what? Speaking of makeup, the thing that I find really interesting is she doesn't wear any makeup in the documentary portion. You know, they'll flashback and they'll
yeah, I
show
saw a
scenes.
photo. Yeah,
Holy cow, it's up close. And what's really cool is that her sons, at least one, if not both,
yeah,
produced it or directed
yeah.
it, whatever. So really interesting. And then of course I've been watching White Lotus too. I just finished that. So that was
Ooh, it's on my
just
list.
candy, just candy.
Before we leave Pamela Anderson, though, I was reading an interview with her or watching an interview with her on YouTube, and she was talking about like that Hulu thing came out like last year before, the Pam and Tommy thing, and she
Mhm.
hated that. Like I didn't see it, but she had some real nasty words for the people that made that thing. I don't know what was in there that was maybe like not true or anything, but I guess it's always cool when you have the opportunity to get out there and tell the real story, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. I mean, her childhood and then moving to Cal. I mean, I knew the moving to California from Canada, but then back home, where I'm not 100% done. I think I have 20 or 30 minutes left, so I'm binging it in segments, but
Sure.
it is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Check it out.
White Lotus, I still haven't watched it. I hear it's amazing. I think you're like the third guest in a row to tell us like they're watching that.
Really?
So I definitely got to get on it. But
Yeah,
I do
same.
love Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh,
Love her. Oh yeah.
yeah.
All right, Vinny, what are you binging?
You know,
What is Chloe making you binge?
yeah, Chloe, we're currently on like a mix of Pokemon and Scooby-Doo, but I watched Andor. I don't know if we talked about that on one of these. It took me months to get through Andor. I'm not going to say it was a binge.
Yeah.
It was like 12 episodes on Disney Plus. It's a tie-in to Star Wars. It's like the prequel to the prequel, because Rogue One was a prequel of Star Wars, and this is a prequel to Rogue One. So I don't know, but the first
Oh.
8 episodes are all just the rebellion getting off the ground, trying to get financing, like going through sneaky like political backdoor stuff, and I'm just like, this is not interesting. And then the last 4 episodes are actually phenomenal. Like, is it worth watching those first 8 to get to the last 4? I couldn't tell you. I don't know, but yeah, it
Sounds
took
like
me a
maybe
long time to
no.
get through it. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, as long as they keep putting out Star Wars, I'm gonna watch it. I don't know that that's a policy that I should keep up for super long, but yeah, I don't know. That
So
was the first time I watched anything where I was just like, God, what am I doing with my life here?
So you probably already know this, Vinny, but you're the barometer in my life for whether or not something in Star Wars universe is worth watching. Like
Yeah,
I usually, it'll come up in conversation naturally, and I will listen to what you have to say about it, and I will make a decision about watching it based on what you have to say about it.
that's a
And
hard responsibility to put on anyone.
I'm sorry, no pressure. I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to be able to come back to the show in the next few weeks or whatever. Be able to say I watched the White Lotus. I've got Space Force season 2 and Russian Doll season 2 that I've been looking to get to forever.
Oh, I forgot
So I
about
really want to
Russian.
check those out. Yeah, but for now, all I can say is like for the last few months, I've been slowly dripping Andor. Not many great transitions between. Well, no, there's lots of voice acting going on in the Star Wars universe. So speaking of, series where there are great voice actors, Barbara, why don't you tell us about Smiling Voice?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me on.
It's
I have
our
to tell
pleasure,
you,
believe me.
oh, thank you. I have to tell you, this is weird for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I've always been on the other end, because I've been a radio host and
Okay.
doing voiceovers. I've had my own podcast, and it's just so exciting and weird to be on the other side answering the questions. I'm so used to asking questions. Like when we first got on, I was talking to Kate, I'm like, oh, what are those pictures behind you? I'm just so used to. So first and foremost, so my company is called Smiling Voice. And what it is I essentially do every kind of voiceover that there could be. So commercials, narration, phone, on hold. I've done explainer videos. I've done medical narration, books on tape. I even auditioned. I didn't get it, but I auditioned years ago for a doll. And I had to stand in front of a panel of people. And, like when you push, because you have a young daughter, you push the belly and it goes,
sure. Yeah.
And I just giggled the whole
That has
time.
to be the most awkward audition ever.
It was so awkward, but it was fun, And I have done now when it comes to video games, my voice is a little bit lower. But what I have done when video games come out, there's also sometimes a translation between, so say some of the Japanimation, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I've done
it occurs to me I totally should have gone in that direction. Like my actual binging has been video games. Like I binged Mortal Kombat 11 and Gotham Knights over the last couple weeks. But Kate can't talk about video games. She's just not in that. Yeah, right. So I never talk about that. But cool, yeah. Let me hear all about it. Yeah.
So what I do is I actually have been the translation. So one time there was a female that did, I don't know if it was 4D. This was going back a couple of years ago. And she would say it in Japanese. And then I was when I was creating this, So I've done that. I have auditioned for cartoons and Japanimation, that kind of thing. But because my voice is lower, I don't sound like, you know what I mean? So I haven't done, but that, I mean, to do a cartoon or animation would be next level, but because I sound, you can actually hear the smile in my voice, and that's what I get hired for a lot of times. And I also have been on the radio for years. So when I'm on the radio, I talk to my friend, I have a picture sometimes in the studio. So it's as if I'm talking to one person. I think that's why I get hired too, because I sound like I'm your friend and, hey, I love this product, not in your face throwing it at you. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's I don't even know how to say this. Like I play a lot of stuff where there's people with lower voices. So, don't just stop, keep at it.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll be a guy.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, like, it's not always with the females. Like, no. Like it's people need stuff of all different ranges, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask, how frustrating is it that like these days there don't seem to be voice actors in like animated movies these days. It's like you see like this character and it's got to be voiced by like
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson or somebody huge like Zoe Saldana.
Ryan
like,
Reynolds.
They just don't have like voice actors anymore. Like Paige O'Hara or yeah.
It is, I got frustrated initially, and that was happening in commercial work too. But then I realized there's enough work for everybody. There really is. There's so many little niche things that you don't think of. It would be great to be in a movie. To say, yeah, I'm the voice of 1-800-Flowers on a national commercial. But there's enough local. I just did a bakery that's in, I don't know if it's Red Bank or Shrewsbury. I just did their spot the other day. So like things kind of trickle in. I do a lot of car commercials, which have kind of slowed because the car market is what it is right now. But it does sometimes get frustrating. However, there's plenty of work for everybody. Yeah.
That's cool.
How do you go about finding like the work? Like, because it's not like, is there a system by which you is it like that? Is it like a website you go to? Like, how does it work?
So initially, when I first got out of college, I had an agent. And the thing about having an agent, and at that time, that's what I needed to get in. And they would send you on auditions. And when you book something, then they would get a little percentage of it. Then what happened was I moved to Vermont for a radio job, and my voiceover business took a little pause for a few years. Then when I moved back to New Jersey, picked back up with the agent, got a radio job. But what happened was then I got pregnant. And what it is in this field, it's so competitive in New York that you have to be available at a moment's notice. Like I could have gotten a phone call at 10 o'clock this morning that I needed to be in New York for an audition at 1. Then I would have had to get a hold of you guys, drive in, park the car, so I took a break from the agent when I had my 2 daughters because I couldn't be available 100% of the time. What was cool about that is then it shifted to home studios, and I built a home studio. I had a friend who built a home studio for me. He showed me everything, and it was a perfect transition through these last bunch of years. Now, still the big stuff is done in New York, or I do audiobooks in a studio up in North Jersey. You know, it has to be edited kind of on the fly. But then what was kind of cool is when the pandemic hit, I already had a studio. So I have repeat clients that I've had for years, and there are websites that I go to. Voice 123 is an example. There are auditions. I get invited to audition, and it's really cool. I mean, I did a winery, a vineyard outside of San Francisco, and the guy just listened. I had my cell phone. I just had it up, and he said, "Just put me on mute." And I was like, "Guillermo Winery, blah 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 blah." And I've done commercials in Hawaii. Like, you can do it from home and then send it off, and then they add their music and sound effects. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Yeah.
technology. What's the weirdest thing that you've ever voiced?
Well, I did that doll audition. I did a video. This was actually on camera. I don't usually do on camera, but I got asked to do this one for plastic surgery. And it was about nose jobs, and it was a very, very long time ago. And it was in this mansion in Bernardsville or Bridgewater. And I was there, and they had me memorize the script. And I've never had any plastic surgery. And at this time I was probably in my 25, 27 years old. So I was like, you know what, I'll take the gig. And it was weird. It was just really weird, talking about rhinoplasty and I don't know. That was really weird. As far as other stuff, it's nothing. I mean, I've had to do, it's probably not appropriate to say exactly what happened, but I did do a growth hormone voiceover for a drug company. And there were things that happened, like the side effects, that I had to talk about. I was so glad I got the script the night before so I could read through, so that I didn't start giggling when I did it.
Those are always hilarious. It's like, you know, you watch a commercial for something that's supposed to like cure a headache, and it's like anal hemorrhaging, spinal crackature, you know, like, you're just like, oh my God.
Exactly.
The headache.
Exactly. It's wacky. So yeah, nothing really too weird. Most of my work is promo work. You know, coming up next, commercials, and like I said, narration. There is a lot of work in corporate narration, retail. I've done benefits planning, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I never think about the corporate work, but now I'm like right back into Mad Men. And toward the end of Mad Men, when Joan Holloway like got hired to do like corporate videos, and like that was the start of her second act. Yeah, that's
good old Joan. You know what? It's interesting. One that you don't think of, and now when I say this, it's all you're going to think of. So I apologize for the.
I don't know. From now until forever, whenever I see one of those dolls that giggles, I'm going to be thinking about you.
I do a lot of work for AT&T, and I'm actually the voice for FEMA. So you know, when you call and I say, "I'm sorry, your social security number is not corresponding," I said, I'm sorry. So I do a lot of those.
That's awesome. Actually, Kate is the voice for AT&T's sponsorship on Minding Your Business, our other show. In the beginning of the show, when it's like AT&T sponsors, you know, like whatever it is. Like I'm saying this, I could actually recite the entire commercial by heart because I've heard it like 10,000 times. But like, yeah, Kate is that voice in the beginning of the show.
Love it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting. All right, I think we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to play a little game. And welcome back. It is now time for our lightning round game, which today is brought to us by Integris IT. Barbara, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Favorite pizza topping?
Ooh, mushrooms.
Ooh.
So hold on, wait. Mike was on the last episode of the show, and he said sausage. So do you guys order?
No, I don't eat meat. No. We get 2 pizzas.
The war of the pizzas for the
war of the pizzas.
Amazing. Okay. Greatest TV show ever made?
Oh, Brady Bunch.
That's a unique answer to this question. All right.
No one has ever. Tell me, I have a follow-up question. I'm so sorry.
Sure. No,
what did you like about the Brady Bunch?
Oh, you can't say it like that. Like, you know,
I'm sorry. That's really judgmental. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're making it sound like the Brady Bunch was a bad show.
It wasn't a great show. Well, first of all, I had a crush on Peter, so we'll start with that.
There you go.
I like that
Wait,
everybody
which one
got
was
along.
Peter? Was Peter
The
the
middle one.
dad?
The
The
middle
middle
one.
one? Okay.
The middle one.
I like how it all got resolved. I mean, I'm not a sitcom person now as an adult, but I like how everything kind of just everything figured itself out.
Yeah.
Like within one episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it was a two-parter set in Hawaii, right?
Was there?
Oh, yeah.
When everybody had a perm.
Yeah. I had a perm.
I did too.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna stop judging the Brave show because you're right. It was a good show. It was a good show. It's just
There's like 4 acceptable answers to this question to Kate. It's like
what are your favorites?
No, Kate, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna.
No. I think like to Kate, it's like Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Better Call Saul. I don't know. Anything else that would fit into that?
Yeah, there's something else in there. Veep, probably. Although
sure.
Mike actually had some really respectable answers for that question. So
yeah.
But
a lot of people on the show say Seinfeld. You know, that's one that comes up a lot. But
Mad Men would have to be in there. I mean, that show is phenomenal. I do agree with you.
It's just a perfect show. Like I wouldn't change
Brady
anything.
Bunch went for like 8 to 10 seasons. It had 2 movies, 2 remake movies. I don't know about the Hawaiian thing, whether that was movie. It is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah.
I agree.
mean, Carol Burnett too, I'd have to say.
Love.
Yeah.
Love. Did you know
I don't know that I ever watched the old show. She was on Better Call Saul in the last like season there.
She was. I forgot about that. Yeah. Did you know that she had the giggles so badly she could not perform a ballad because it would make her laugh. She would just be too nervous. So whenever they had her sing like a love song or a ballad, they had to put her in like a chicken costume or riding a toddler truck or something. Like she couldn't.
Really?
Yes.
Just to work the giggles in so that it made sense.
Just to be funny, because if the audience was laughing, then she wouldn't laugh. But if she had to stand in front of the audience and be serious, she would get the giggles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some good tips to people out there. You know, if you really are that nervous in a situation, kind of control the situation, make it something that works for you. But anyway, go ahead. Next one.
All right. Next one. Farthest from New Jersey you've ever been?
I guess Hawaii.
Okay.
Hawaii.
Barbara goes Hawaiian. I was just thinking because the Brady Bunch. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that's. I mean, I would say that's further than anywhere in Europe I've ever been. I think so. That's a long flight. Yeah.
You got to break out the ruler and the map. I don't.
Yeah. The compass.
Yeah. No. Right. Exactly. All right. Morning person or night person?
I am definitely more of a night person. It takes something to get me out of bed in the morning.
Really?
You said you were on the radio. Were you like a nighttime DJ or
we
were talking before, like in the middle of the two. I don't know if you mentioned it while we were live.
Yeah. So I do middays now. But when I first
you're on the radio now.
I'm on the radio now.
Oh, okay.
But I do something that's called voice tracking. So so I actually was on today from 10 to 2, but I recorded my show yesterday. So when I have something like this, or I have a voiceover booked, I can go to the radio station and it's all in the computer and I just talk into the breaks. But when I first started, I was at night. Yeah, I was on it.
I have a question. Wait. I have a question about the pre-recording thing. So do you ever run into a situation where you recorded a show yesterday and something happens today that just like can't be ignored? Like, let's say like Superstorm Sandy hits and you're like, it's a lovely day we're having today. Does that kind of thing ever happen?
I don't talk about weather. I'll tell you what, a couple years ago when Tom Petty died, Prince died, we had all that. Now, a little sneaky trick. I have a recording studio at home, so I can go in and make an MP3 with a brand new, 30-second blurb. I can send that to my production guy, and then he adds it into. That we've done that before. That's a sneaky little trick.
That's great. I love that you can pre-record a whole show though. From 10 to 2, you can just pre-record.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if we could pre-record this show,
Yeah, there are a lot of stations and a lot of satellite radio. That's how they do it. I didn't know about that. I happened to be at a wedding and somebody said, "Hey, you want to be on the radio again?" And I was like, "Oh, no," because what I loved about radio is you got to pick your music, and I loved that part. And now everything's programmed. But then she said to me, she goes, you only have to be there for a 4-hour shift. It'll take you about 45 minutes. I'm like, ooh, do tell. So then I got into this. So that's what I do. So I'm a
How do you
part-time
record 4
employee,
hours
but
of
full-time.
content in 45 minutes?
Yep.
There's no music.
The music in
well,
between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then they just fill in. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Commercials and yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do you have to record the commercials? Because sometimes you hear that, like people on the radio will be like, and now, we're a word from our sponsor, and it's them doing it. So like you don't really get that time off then, right?
No, so I do that after I'm done with my recording or being on the air. I go into a production room and I record that stuff. And I also do something also on the radio. I'm a big passionate person about animals. So I do a little side project there called Happy Tales. And what we do is before the pandemic, we would bring animals into the radio station and I would play with them. They would video me and then we do a voiceover. This is Fido. Fido is a 2-year-old, blah, blah, blah. And we still do that. And we just had a meeting yesterday that we're going to go back to bringing them in, or I may go to the shelters and, they'll show me in there. So that's another, and I have to record that voiceover too. Sometimes I interview somebody from the shelter. Hey, yesterday we had a cat, Barky Bart. And that cat was like 14 and only could be with older people. So we give all those details too.
That's so that's amazing.
Why could it
So,
only be with older people?
Because it was an older cat and it couldn't have like little kids pulling at its tail and stuff.
That makes
Fair.
sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Where can people listen to you on the radio?
So I'm on a station here in New Jersey. It's down near Long Beach Island. It's called WJRZ. So it's 100.1. And what's really cool about radio now, like when I was on the radio up in Vermont, you had to be there and listen. But as you know, you can now go to the website and hit listen live.
Yeah.
So I have relatives all over the country. Even some of Mike's relatives in Ireland are like, we heard Barb. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I'm on there and I'm on 10 to 2 weekdays.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yay.
All right. Last question. How many cats is too many cats?
Too many cats. I would say more than 2.
Ooh,
because I've had 1 and then we had 2 at once, and I've had 2 dogs. I think anything more than 2. I have 2 kids too. Is that a telling? No tolerance?
But you are one of the few people who hasn't said what's too many. So I'm taking it.
I love animals. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were saying I love animals, my first thought was going to be like, oh, she's going to come out with like 6. She's going to be like 6, maybe 7 cats. It's too many cats.
Now, if I had a big property, a big farm or something, I could have maybe 3 or 4 cats, but I would have 10 dogs. I would have 20 dogs. I love,
Wow. 10 dogs is a lot of responsibility. Like I would get 10 cats before I got 10 dogs. Like, we have a neighbor and she has 3 dogs and she has to walk each of them individually because they're too big, So I was just like, wow, can you imagine all the walks it takes to walk 3 dogs individually? And that's 3, imagine 10. I mean, I don't know.
I'd have to throw them out in the farm.
Yeah. I mean, if you have like a fenced in yard or like 10 acres of land and like it didn't matter, that would be different. But yeah, I wouldn't be walking any dogs. I wouldn't.
All right. So let's just say somebody wants to get into voice acting. They could use some advice or anything like that. What would you have for them?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because recently in the last year, or I guess I'd say since the end of 2020, I've actually taken that on as a side hustle because you would not believe how many people, if I'm at a dinner party, if I'm at a Christmas get together with, people I'm just meeting, oh, my daughter wants to do that. How many conversations I've had throughout the years. So I have made that into a little side business where I'll do a consultation for an hour and tell you everything that you need to know. And obviously there's tons of stuff on the internet too. There are recording studios that host these kind of things. The woman that I started with years ago, her name is Susan Berkeley. She's still teaching classes. I remember doing that in person. But there's books. There's a great book called There's Money Where Your Mouth Is. The woman's name is Elaine Clark, I believe. It's a little antiquated, but it also gives information. And it's a lot of what is it? a lot of people will come to me and say, oh, I have a great voice. I'm like, well, that's great. However, do you know what 29 seconds is? You know, if someone says to me, I need this read in 28:30, that's a skill. You know what I mean? So I kind of train people what that is, and I'll use a stopwatch, and there's a lot more to it. There's also the production end. Like, can you go on a simple program and edit out your breaths? You know, there's a lot of other things that go into it, you know?
I was actually, my assumption was that voice acting coaching in classes was more in line of like, here's how to do a funny voice. Here's how to do like a serious. I didn't realize there was a lot more to it than that. Wow.
Technical, yeah. Well, you know what I do is I'll also assess. I met a young woman this past summer. She's now a senior in high school. She's a STEM girl, but she said, I have this creative side too. So we did a consultation. I said, so Emily, are you comfortable reading a few scripts with me? And she said yes. And what I did with her is I said, you know what, you really fit into this genre. You have a young voice. So she was very commercial sounding, but when she tried to do a narration, it didn't sound authentic. So we work on that kind of stuff too.
Very cool. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, you know, find out how they can do that, or, you know, take advantage of your services, how can they do that?
Thank you. So my website is www.smilingvoice.com, and my email is barbara@smilingvoice.com.
Before we lose
and I'm
you
on
here,
Instagram and Facebook and all that.
cool.
LinkedIn.
As Smiling Voices or
Smiling. You know what?
I
think I'm under Smiling Voice on Instagram. On LinkedIn, I'm obviously Barbara Farragher. But again, an email, I get back to you right away. I'm pretty good.
Before we lose you here, is there anything coming up you want to promote?
What is coming up? We do have this really cool thing with the radio station coming up in May. I believe it's May 21st. It's at the Lakewood Blue Claws Stadium, and it's called Bark in the Park. Okay. And what happens is shelters are there, and you can adopt pets. You can also bring your pets, and we do a little tricks, you know, if your dog or cat does any tricks, and then you can buy
I thought you were saying you can actually bring your pets, have somebody adopt them. Like, yeah.
No, you can bring your pets to the event
at my house.
And then you can buy a paw pass, and you can actually take your pet to the game if you want to. It's fun. Cool. And as far as voiceovers, I never know. I know my La Rosa's Bakery spot is getting produced now. That's the one that's in Shrewsbury or Red Bank. And I have a big audition March 1st. It's a 45-minute medical narration. So cross your fingers. We'll see what happens with that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
This has just been a fascinating conversation. I am so glad that Mike introduced us, man.
Oh,
wow.
It's great to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that is our show. Thank you to our listeners, especially the subscribers. We really appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of the show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage. And finally, thanks to Barbara Farragher of Smiling Voice for joining us today.
It was great to be here. So great.
Thank you. We will see you next time. Bye.